Hi everyone, I'm James. Honestly, I never thought I'd be the one sharing a story like this. I've read posts like these for years, shaking my head, thinking families can't really be that harsh. But after what happened with mine, I understand now. Sometimes, the people closest to you treat you worse than strangers. A bit about me first. I'm 27, and for as long as I can remember, I've dreamed of opening a bakery. Not just baking at home for fun, but creating a real place where people could walk in, smell fresh bread out of the oven, see cakes beautifully displayed, and feel welcomed. I spent years saving, working long shifts, and learning from local bakers who were generous enough to teach me a few things. But my family? They never truly supported me. I'm the youngest of three. My brother Ezra is 31, and my sister Clara is 29. Ezra's always been the golden child, at least in my parents' eyes. He works in finance, earns a solid salary, dresses well, and talks like he knows everything, even when he's stretching the truth. Clara is quieter, but always sides with him. If Ezra says something, she agrees without question. Then there's me. To them, I was always the one with cute hobbies. When I was a kid and chose baking over soccer, Dad would sigh and say, "Life's not just about fun, James. You need to think about stability." Mom wasn't as blunt, but she'd say things like, "That's nice, but you'll grow out of it." Spoiler alert, I never did. Anyway, after years of saving and planning, I finally signed a lease for a small but perfect spot in town. It used to be a flower shop, cozy layout, big front windows. I invested everything into renovating it, painting, buying equipment, designing the logo. I named it Morning Rise. Simple, but it felt right. When I sent out invitations for the grand opening, I was nervous. I'd worked so hard, testing recipes, setting up seating, even hand-painting signs for each pastry. I wanted everything to feel personal and inviting. What mattered most to me, though, was having my family there. After all the years of being brushed aside, I still hoped they'd finally see what I'd built and be proud. The day before the opening, I sent a reminder in the family group chat. Ezra didn't reply, not unusual for him. Clara sent a thumbs-up emoji. My parents responded with, "We'll see." That phrase has been the background noise of my life. Never a yes, never a real no, just an indifferent maybe. Still, I told myself not to overthink. I woke up at 4 a.m. on opening day and got to baking. By 7 a.m., the smell inside was incredible. Fresh cinnamon rolls, croissants, sourdough. I even made a special cake just in case my family showed up. Customers started coming in around 8. By noon, there was a small crowd. People complimented the space, loved the food, even asked if I was hiring. I should have felt proud, and I did, but I couldn't stop looking at the door. Every time it opened, my heart leapt, thinking maybe it was Mom or Dad, maybe Ezra or Clara. But hour after hour passed, and no one came. Late in the afternoon, after the rush had quieted, I checked my phone. That's when I saw a photo in the family group chat. Ezra standing on a stage holding a framed certificate, surrounded by my smiling family. They were at his promotion party. Apparently, he'd just been made senior regional manager or something. The caption from my mom read, "So proud of you, Ezra. You made us all so happy today." I can't describe the mix of anger and sadness that hit me. Was sitting in the bakery I built from scratch, and they were all off celebrating Ezra without even telling me. No apologies, no explanation, just that picture like a slap in the face. That evening, I closed up feeling completely empty. As I was locking the door, my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. For a moment, I thought maybe it was an apology. Instead, it read, "James, we need to discuss the bakery. Call me when you can." I just stared at it. The timing couldn't have been worse. After 12 straight hours of baking and serving customers, all without the people I wanted most, I was being summoned like an employee. Still, a part of me hoped maybe this was his way of finally acknowledging my work. I didn't call him right away. I stayed behind, cleaning spotless counters, stacking chairs no one from my family had sat in, wrapping up that untouched cake. The bakery smelled of butter and vanilla, but it felt hollow. Walking home, that family photo replayed in my mind. Ezra grinning like a star, Mom's hand on his shoulder, Dad looking like he just watched his son win an award, Clara smiling along. They looked complete, and I wasn't in the picture, literally or figuratively. When I got home, I sat on my bed, phone in hand. I typed, "Sure, what's up?" then deleted it. I tried, "Had a good opening today," and deleted that too. Eventually, I just wrote, "Okay." Dad replied almost immediately, "Tomorrow evening, come by the house." That was it. No congratulations, no sorry we missed it. Just a cold invite like a manager setting up a meeting. The next day dragged. I opened the bakery again, and thankfully, some customers from the day before returned. They said they loved the bread. That gave me a little hope. But the conversation ahead weighed on me all day. That evening, I drove to my parents' house, stomach in knots. The house hadn't changed. Same brick exterior, same hedges, same creaky gate. Walking up felt like being 12 again, preparing for one of Dad's talks. Mom opened the door. She gave me a polite smile, the kind you give to an unexpected guest. "James, you're here." No hug, no "how's the bakery," just flat indifference. Inside, Clara sat at the dining table, scrolling on her phone. Ezra was already there, lounging in Dad's favorite chair, like he owned the place. When he saw me, he smirked and said, "Well, if it isn't the man of the hour, how's life in the cupcake business?" I ignored the jab and sat across from him. Dad entered shortly after, carrying a stack of papers. No small talk. He sat, folded his hands, and began. "James, your mother and I think it's time we had an honest conversation about your bakery." Even the way he said bakery felt dismissive, like it was a bad habit, not a real business. "What about it?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. He slid a printed article across the table. Something about how most small businesses fail within 5 years. "Look," he said, tapping the page, "these are real numbers. Most bakeries don't make it. You've put yourself in a risky position and we're concerned." Not a word about the grand opening. Not a single acknowledgement of how far I'd come. Just failure stats. Ezra chimed in. "He's right. Playing shopkeeper is cute and all, but Dad's giving you solid advice. You should listen." I bit my tongue. "I'm not playing shopkeeper," I said. "I had a great turnout. People like the food. This isn't some game." Mom sighed like I was overreacting. "We're not saying you haven't worked hard, James, but Ezra's promotion shows what stability looks like. We don't want you chasing a hobby and risking your future." That word, hobby, hit hard. Clara finally looked up from her phone. "Maybe if you listened, you wouldn't end up broke. Just saying." I looked around the table, then back to Dad. "Why am I here?" That's when Dad dropped the bomb. "We think Ezra should help manage the financial side of your bakery. He has experience. It would give us peace of mind." For a second, I thought I misheard. "Ezra? Overseeing my business? You want Ezra to run my bakery?" "Not run it," Dad corrected. Just the finances and planning. You'd still bake. Ezra leaned in. You handle the fun stuff. Kneading dough, decorating cupcakes. I'll take care of the real work. It's a win-win. Except it wasn't. I clenched my hands under the table. They hadn't even shown up, and now they were suggesting I couldn't manage my own business? I don't think that's necessary, I said firmly. I've got a plan. I've done the research, and I've saved for emergencies. I don't need Ezra managing anything. Dad's face tightened. We're just trying to help. Ezra has a track. It was just a scheduling conflict. Mom finally said it, her tone making it clear she believed I was overreacting. A conflict? I repeated, stunned. So you picked Ezra over me? You made that choice and left me out. And now, after everything, you expect me to let him help run something I built on my own? Ezra leaned in, his eyes sharp, his smile tighter than before. You're being dramatic. Everyone needs a little guidance. You've done well, James, but don't let your feelings cloud your decisions. That's a dangerous mix in business. My frustration was at its peak, but a strange calm took over. This wasn't just about the bakery anymore. It was about respect, about proving that I wasn't the child they'd sidelined for years. I picked up the documents Dad had spread out, then looked around the room. You're not helping, I said slowly. You're trying to take control. You want credit for something you didn't build. You can keep your advice. I don't want it from any of you. Dad's face darkened, and Mom's frustration showed. Clara muttered under her breath, He's being ridiculous. Ezra's smirk slipped, replaced by a flicker of surprise. He hadn't expected pushback. Then Dad leaned back and pinched the bridge of his nose, his voice low and serious. You're going to regret this. You think you're ready, but you're still young and stubborn. You don't see how much you're risking. We were just trying to protect you. I cut in, voice calm and cold. Protect me? No. You were protecting yourselves. Making sure Ezra looks good. Making sure I stay small enough for you to control the story. That's not protection. That's manipulation. The room went still. Even Clara looked startled. Mom's jaw clenched, and Ezra's eyes narrowed. I knew I'd struck a nerve. Then Dad slammed his hand on the table. That's enough, James. You're being unreasonable. You'll see. You can't do this alone. And when you fail... I stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly. I won't fail, I said, my voice rising. And when I succeed, it'll be because I believed in myself when none of you did. Ezra let out a short, empty laugh. We'll see about that. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't playing their game anymore. I didn't know exactly what came next, but I knew I was going to prove them wrong. Completely. Before I could plan my next move, Mom's phone buzzed. She checked it and passed it to me with a smug look. You might want to see this. I took the phone, heart sinking. A local business blog had posted about my bakery. A photo showed it packed with customers, a line stretching down the block. But then I saw the comment at the top. Looks like someone's trying to compete with Ezra's franchise. Hope they know what they're doing. That's when I realized my family wasn't finished. Not even close. I stared at that comment, my hands trembling. Not out of fear, but because something had finally become clear. My family had underestimated me for the last time. Ezra's smirk, Dad's dismissive tone, Mom's patronizing smile. They were all waiting for me to collapse. But I didn't. I looked around the room. They were watching, waiting for me to back down. I didn't give them the satisfaction. You know what? I said, my voice steady. I don't need your help. I don't need your advice. And I especially don't need Ezra trying to take over what I built. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to make this bakery work, on my own. And when I do, you'll realize just how wrong you were. Ezra leaned back, trying to hide his unease. "Big talk," he said, "but talk doesn't pay the bills. Numbers do. That's why I'm offering to help." I laughed, quietly at first. Numbers? Let me tell you something about numbers. They only matter when you're willing to take risks. I've already taken mine. You've just been standing back, pretending your control is concern. Mom flushed, but didn't interrupt. She never does when she's losing ground. Dad's hands were clenched, and for once, Clara didn't immediately side with Ezra. She looked unsure. I felt more confident than I had in years. They had tried to box me in, but I was done shrinking to fit their expectations. That night, I paced my apartment, thinking, they thought they could just insert themselves into my bakery and take over, but they had no idea how meticulous I'd been. Every recipe, every sale, every review, mine. I didn't want revenge. I wanted to make a point. So I got to work. First, I documented everything. The grand opening, happy customers, reviews, the blog comment. I made sure there was a clear, verifiable trail. Then, I turned to the one area they'd always weaponized: money. My parents always claimed I was financially irresponsible, so I set out to prove them wrong, publicly. The next morning, I opened the bakery with purpose. Everything was flawless. Every croissant, every slice of cake. It wasn't just food, it was proof. I reached out to local businesses, dropped off samples, invited them in. This wasn't just networking. I was building something they couldn't ignore. Me. By the afternoon, 3 cafes wanted to carry my pastries. A catering company reached out about desserts. Meanwhile, in the family group chat, Ezra posted about his latest win. Mom commented. Clara dropped her usual emoji. I said nothing. Not yet. That evening, Dad texted, "We're disappointed. We think you're making a mistake. Call us." I stared at it, smiled, and didn't respond. They wanted control. Now I had it. The next week, I barely left the bakery. I refined recipes, built community ties, and slowly built confidence. Every compliment from a customer became another layer of resilience. Then came the breakthrough. A local food magazine wanted to feature Morning Rise. A full profile, photos, story, everything. This was major. It would reach thousands. I scheduled the interview and prepped the bakery meticulously. But of course, Ezra caught wind of it. I don't know how. Maybe Mom or Dad told him. But he showed up the day of the shoot, looking like he owned the place. I didn't let him in. I politely told him it was a private meeting, pre-scheduled. He raised an eyebrow, but left without a scene. The shoot went perfectly. The editor was impressed, asking thoughtful questions, snapping great photos, and even posting live updates. Morning Rise began trending locally. Later that night, I checked the family group chat. Ezra had posted a work photo. Mom commented. Clara stayed silent. Nothing about the bakery. But then a comment popped up from one of Mom's friends. "James, your bakery is everywhere. You're doing something special." I grinned. They'd see it now, and they'd have no idea how to react. That night, I got another text from Dad. "James, we need to talk. Urgent." I set my phone down, took a deep breath, and smiled. The next morning, I doubled down. With the magazine article set to release, I worked fast, securing new contracts with cafes, a deli, and even my first wedding catering gig. Everything was tracked: photos, emails, invoices. Not just business, evidence. My family kept pretending I didn't exist. Ezra boasted online. Mom stayed in her supportive-to-him mode. Clara stayed quiet. I knew how this worked. Then the article dropped. It was perfect. Full-page spread. Beautiful photos. My story. Praise flooded in. The comments were overwhelming. Customers tagging friends, planning visits, cheering me on. That's when I made my move. I sent the link to the group chat with a sharp message. The bakery was featured in the magazine. Feel free to take a look. Dad replied first. James, this isn't a game. Let Ezra help before you ruin this. Mom followed. We're just worried. Don't risk everything. Clara. Why won't you let us in? Just be careful. And Ezra. You got lucky. Let's see how long it lasts. Don't overestimate yourself. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The proof was out there and undeniable. That weekend, I hosted a tasting event. The bakery was packed. People took photos, asked questions, raved about the pastries. For the first time, I saw admiration in people's eyes. Then, like clockwork, the family showed up. Uninvited. Ezra looked smug at first. Dad looked cautious. Mom stayed neutral. Clara was somewhere between skeptical and intrigued. I greeted them politely. Welcome. Look around. Ezra paused when he saw the crowd. This is a lot, he muttered. Dad cleared his throat. James, we didn't realize. I cut in. You knew exactly what this could be. You just didn't think I could pull it off. Their expressions shifted. I walked them through the bakery, showed the orders, the contracts, the article. This happened while you were ignoring me, while you were boosting Ezra. And yes, I did it without any of you.